Hello, families. Welcome back for our next reading of the Jesse Tree. Yesterday, we saw that Mr. Butterfield told the little boy the story of Elijah. That was an exciting story, wasn't it? Remember when Elijah asked God to send down fire, and God did? Yeah. Elijah had a very interesting, exciting life of following God and doing what God wanted him to do. And it wasn't always easy, but it was very exciting. Today, the chapter is War and Peace. Look, the little boy and the old man are looking together at the Jesse tree. You see the old man kind of smiling. War and Peace. Was Elijah one of Jesus' ancestors? Mr. Butterfield folded his bottom lip over the top one. It was far too difficult to explain. Well, what about Elijah then? Was he? So there was Elijah and Elisha. Elisha was also a prophet of God that came after Elijah. No. He and Elijah were prophets, can't you see? They have a separate bough to themselves. A bough is a branch. But they often appear on Jesse trees. It's traditional. Why? Why are they there, if they weren't ancestors of Jesus? The carpenter dropped the little scraping tool he was using to hollow out the raven's eye. It's traditional, I told you, tradition. But you must know, insisted the boy. Of course I know, of course I do. Mr. Butterfield mopped his forehead with a dirty rag. The prophets are there because they knew Jesus was coming. Even hundreds of years before he came, they caught glimpses of him in their dreams. They pictured him in their visions. They promised God's people that he was really coming, a redeemer, a rescuer, someone who would forgive them all their mistakes. A descendant of Jesse will appear. That's what the prophet Isaiah told them. A shoot will spring from the stock of Jesse, and from his roots a bud will blossom. Long before the prophets, Joseph, Moses, and all the people I've told you about trusted God to rescue them. But the prophets knew something Joseph and Moses didn't. God had told them he would send a Savior, the Messiah. Someone to fight off their worst giants. Someone to guide them back to Paradise Garden. So where are the prophets? Show me. Mr. Butterfield pointed out a row of symbols dangling from one bough of his oaken Jesse tree. Look here. Here's one of the ravens that fed Elijah in the desert. Here's Nehemiah's trowel. He encouraged the Israelites to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem after they were destroyed. And here's a plow for Isaiah. Was he a farmer then? I told you, weren't you listening? He was a prophet. I thought prophesying might be a part-time job. Why a plow? Because he said there would come one day when there would be no more war, and people would hammer their swords into blades for their plows. Imagine peace, blessed peace. Mr. Butterfield said it wishfully. His head was spinning. Next I'll carve a bear here to represent Elisha. Ooh, a bear! Why a bear? Tell me about the bear. The questions buzzed like hornets around Mr. Butterfield's head. Because a crowd of good-for-nothing small boys waylaid him and jeered at him and called him names and chanted, go on, Baldy, and mocked him and pestered him till he couldn't stand it any more. So he cursed them black and blue, and 2 she-bears came rampaging out of the wood and ate them all up. Now will you let me get back to work? The boy bolted. Oh no, Mr. Butterfield lost his patience. A moment later, the carpenter started after him, swaying unsteadily from foot to foot, arms upraised and looking very like a charging bear. Stop! Wait! Clang! The big metal latch of the door clacked shut. He banged up against the baptismal font, making the water slop. Then he steadied himself and opened the latch, but the street outside was already empty. Wearily, he slumped down on a big oak chest by the door. I'll bet Elijah regretted that temper of his, he said under his breath. I know I do. The bear that he carved that day was not very fierce at all. In fact, it wore an anxious sort of a smile, and stood on its hind legs, stretching its neck for all the world, as if watching out for a long-awaited friend. So when he carved that bear today, he was thinking of how he felt. Here's a picture of the old man feeling bad about being so grumpy and fussing at the boy and making the boy run away. I hope the boy comes back tomorrow. I know the old man hopes that too. All right, this was a short chapter today and kind of a sad one, wasn't it? All right, thank you for joining us today for the Jessie Tree. Join us again tomorrow. You have to. We have to see if the boy comes back. All right, bye-bye. See you tomorrow.